Welcome everyone, B&B Show. We're back again, episode 4. Today we have a super special guest. We're super excited about it. And man, we just, again, it's the same thing every single time, but we're just so excited to be doing this. It's a huge blessing to have a platform, even if it's 275 of you right now. We're just super blessed to be able to do this. So let's give a round of applause for
Darren Dershem.
Darren Dershem. And I have a quick thing. I hate sticking to the script, but I did write this down. Darren Dershem is a young political commentator who's gone from small town Pennsylvania to Capitol Hill before most people finish college. So yeah, we'll just go straight into it. Darren, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and feel free to take as much time as you need. So
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me on today. I really was looking forward to this. So excited to be coming
Absolutely.
on the show.
Yep.
So I grew up in a small town, rural central Pennsilvania. Family members on my personal family side aren't political at all. Like obviously Republicans, conservatives, but never really had an interest in politics. So I felt like this was kind of the Lord putting a calling on my heart to go make a difference, not only for my community and for our state, but also our country. Yep. Even if I'm playing a small role in that, just being able to speak out against the evil that's going on. And so I started out at a very young age, 7th grade. Got started at 7th grade, went to my first ever Trump rally with my grandmother up at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And I was 14 at the time. And from there, the rest is history. I just got more involved month by month, and made it from, small town Pennsylvania by the grace of God. This is all His will and His plan for my life.
That's good. Yep.
And I think so many people in our generation especially can try to become overly prideful or overly ego-driven in politics. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important that while we're in this arena, that we give God all the glory for what He's doing in America and what's to come. So really honored to be on the show today, and thanks so much again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's super powerful. We're just so excited to have him on, and I guess we can kind of just jump right into some of the questions that we had. But go ahead, and I know you touched on it briefly, but go ahead and just tell us a little bit about your family background. And I know we were talking a little bit before the podcast, but you were raised in a very conservative Christian household. But go ahead and just touch on that a little bit, because I think just because you don't have some crazy testimony about being raised in a family that was polar opposite from what you believe in now, I think even just hitting on some of the things that you're going to say will be important. So go ahead and just hit on that a little bit.
For sure. Yeah. So grew up going to a Christian Missionary Alliance church in Lewisburg, which is about 45 minutes from Jersey Shore.
Okay.
And have been blessed with 2 great parents, mom and dad, both very heavily involved in our church. Mom always was helping out with the women's ministry, still does. Also helped out with the children's ministry at the church, and they kind of gave me a strong foundation, which I'm incredibly grateful for, because I know that some people aren't as they're not as fortunate as me to have a strong family and connection with their families. So that's something that I really appreciate and bond with them over. So honestly, it's just been a blessing. From my very young age getting into politics, my parents have always supported me.
That's cool.
When I got involved at 14 years old, they were my biggest cheerleaders. They saw something in me that maybe even some of the people in this area didn't at the time. Yeah. And I'll never forget, the people that have supported me from the very beginning of this journey, even when I was young, going through middle school, going through high school. Just having that strong foundation of good Christian parents, I think, is so important. And it's something that I'm definitely looking up to as, I think about marriage and think about raising a family and all those different things. Seeing that firsthand is something that I think really can be instrumental into the future of, my early adulthood. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think some of the things you hit on too is pretty cool. We could go off in a little tangent there, but family is the nuclear family. It's lost so much in this day and age, and we've lost sight of what Christ says what family is, and what the nuclear family looks like. And it's just so cool to see even the success that you have now. And I'm sure, just like you said, a lot of that had to do with the way that you were raised and having a mom and a dad that wasn't divorced, and parents that honored God in the relationship and was pushing you to be the best version of yourself. So
and we're supportive in whatever I decide to do.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest with you. When I first got involved in politics, obviously, my parents have supported me in what, everything that I've done. But, they never, they're very surprised, at how things have kind of taken off. But they also realize firmly, definitely now that this is what God has, planned for my life. And this is how God's going to be able to use me to reach so many people so that we can help grow his kingdom, which I think is so important because so many people have parents or family members that support them in politics, and they only really care about, supporting them because they're like, oh, well, he or she's going to grow the conservative movement. But I think it's an entirely different thing when you're not just focused on growing the conservative movement, but when you're focused on growing the kingdom movement for Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important.
Yeah. When Christ is your first, you'll actually see more success in trying to grow the conservative movement. But so many people, like you said, have it backwards to where it's like, man, we're pushing this conservative movement and it's so great. But it's like a lot of times you actually see greater success in politics, I feel like, whenever Christ is at the center of it.
For sure. So. And everything that he's blessed me with these positions and the experiences and the people that I've met, which I know we're going to get into, in a little bit, but it is all God driven. And when people are like, oh, how did you get to, where you're at such a young age? And I'm like, literally Jesus.
Right.
Like he is the one, and I tell kids a lot if they ask questions like, how can I get involved? Or, what was it for you? And I'm like, you just have to find your God-given calling, your God-given purpose that he has for your life. And then once you find that, and a lot of times it happens through prayer. A lot of times it takes a lot of prayer to find out what your calling is in this life for Christ.
Yep.
Other times it comes, pretty naturally if you, are doing certain things that are glorifying God and he continues to further that success. But a lot of the times most times it comes through prayer.
Yeah.
And there's such power in prayer. Yeah. And I think that when that's at the center, nothing can stop. Stop you what you're doing.
That's really powerful.
Yeah. I would just, I had a quick question for you. So you in 7th grade, Darren Dershem in 7th grade, where does that passion for, to be involved in the political realm, where do you think that comes from?
So I think it actually started, and you guys are going to find this really interesting. I was in 7th grade and I was in social studies class, and I don't remember the teacher, the name of the teacher, but I remember that one of my friends, we were talking about the 2016 election, and we were talking about all the different presidential candidates and all the different issues. And I remember the teacher had a strong hatred for Trump. And I remember my friend and I and a couple of the others were the only strong supporters of candidate Trump at the time in the classroom. And one of my friends had mentioned to the teacher about how his mom's good friend, who was a cheerleader, was attacked by an illegal immigrant. And that kind of set off, and then watching the teacher react the way she did in the classroom, and also seeing the amount of persecution that me and my friends that were at the middle school had as conservatives. They were like, oh, these are the red MAGA hat wearing conservatives, like these are the far right people, the same terminology that they're using now to call us far-right extremists, Christian nationalists, all these different names, were the same exact attack slogans that they used in 7th grade to target me and all my other friends because we wanted to share a different perspective and a different point of view. And I said, you know what? We have a First Amendment voice too. Yeah. It's about time we start using it. Evil triumphs when good men do nothing.
Yep, that's so true.
So true.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got to get off the sidelines. I'm like, I could easily go into a career where it's all about me and I care, it's all about making money and having the nicest house, nicest car, all this type of stuff.
Yep.
Or I could put myself aside and focus on something that's bigger than myself and focus on helping save our country for future generations. And that's why I'm so passionate. And that's kind of something that I got at a young age. And I was, involved in the student council at a young age in leadership. And also debate club as well, when I would go up against some of the, top liberals in the Lewisburg school system, which, as your mom knows, Lewisburg's a very liberal area, like Bucknell University.
It's true.
It's a college campus town, so just ton of liberals. And I had no fear. I mean, the Lord
That's
is
awesome.
with us wherever we go.
Yep. Amen.
So I think just having that, having that perspective, having that foundation, but yeah, and I feel like I've always been very outspoken and bold for what I believe in.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, one thing you said there I thought was really cool. But you were actually the minority in being a part of the conservative movement whenever you were that young. And you said everyone kind of just ridiculed and was like, oh, it's the MAGA Republican guys and whatever, the Lewisburg school. But the first thought that came to my mind whenever you were talking about that was how crazy it is that we live in a day and age where just expressing an opinion that differs from what the other side believes, Charlie Kirk got shot for that.
Yeah.
And I see all these titles and articles about Charlie Kirk being racist, Charlie Kirk this, Charlie Kirk that. And it's like, the reality is that all those bad things that they say about Charlie Kirk, it's just clips that are taken completely out of context.
Yep, that's what the left does. That is exactly what the radical left does. They take a 10-minute soundbite and they don't show the full clip of whatever's going on.
Yep.
And they post it out on social media. They send it out on the TV airwaves. And that's how they've brainwashed half of our country into thinking America is a racist country, that America wasn't founded on Christian principles, that Donald Trump is a racist, which we all know is not true at all.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what these short clips and this media manipulation
So true.
that's been used by the Democrat Party has gotten our country to.
Yeah.
And that's why we have so much hate and so much division.
Yeah. I mean, even look at, sorry, I didn't know if you want to say something. Even just like when everything came out about the Twitter files, and then even Mark Zuckerberg admitting that they had interference in a lot of political issues and they were pushing certain agendas. It's just so crazy that we live in a world where my mom always says this. They always accuse you of the exact things that they're doing themselves.
Yep, exactly. They try to call President Trump. Yesterday I had all these No Kings protests happening all across America, saying that Donald Trump was a king. And I'm thinking to myself, who were the people that were trying to force law-abiding Americans to get a vaccine against their own will?
Right.
Who was trying to shut down their small business for refusing COVID orders put on by their liberal governors, Gavin Newsom, Tom Wolf, Kathy Hochul, you name it. Who are the real kings? Who's the party that indicted President Trump and tried to put him in jail for over 400 years? Okay, they set the precedent. They are the party of lawfare. They are the party of authoritarianism and tyranny. And we must do everything in our power to call it out.
So true.
And stand against it.
Yeah, well, I think the irony is that they're protesting that Trump's a king, but the reality is if Trump really was a king, they wouldn't have the right to protest.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
true.
so ironic that everyone's saying no king, but it's like, if he really was a king, you wouldn't have a voice to say that at all.
And my whole thing is they love to talk about democracy too, right? Like they love to talk about how Trump's a king, and then they like to talk about how Trump's a threat to democracy. Yet Trump won the popular vote, Trump won the electoral college, and we won the House and Senate.
Well, if they want to talk about democracy, how many votes did Kamala Harris get in the primary?
Zero. Zero.
Where's the democracy in that?
She got 0 primary votes.
Yeah.
She was anointed after the candidate that they had on the ballot before couldn't even speak coherently, number one. Number two, they lied to the entire country, saying that he was mentally fit and stable to be president of the United States. And so many people bought into it until we saw the debate with President Trump and Joe Biden.
It was bad.
Which President Trump ended Joe Biden's political career
absolutely.
right there.
And
put to bed, and now we're finding out, right, that Joe Biden might have not even been actually signing signatures on executive orders and on pardons. So it just goes to show you the level of corruption and the level of deceitfulness. And it just goes to show you that they will not go. There's no end till they will not go to exposing, the truth.
It's true. It's so true. It's so funny. We were talking about this before the podcast even started. We were just kind of worried about the ebb and flow of how things was going to go, and now we're this far in, and we're already on some crazy rabbit holes, which is really good. It's everything we're talking about is really, really good. But yeah, we went straight from childhood, straight off the deep end into some really deep political issues, which is why we're here. That's why we're doing that. But just to kind of because we could talk about that forever.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, we could talk about the corruption of liberals for the rest of the podcast for 3 hours or whatever. But back to kind of where we were. So you hit on a little bit of your childhood, and now I guess just kind of talk about, and I know you said you don't want to hit on it a whole lot, but talk about just going to Liberty, and then just kind of like just a brief overview, because you said you didn't want to waste too much time on it.
For sure.
But just about going and then finishing online school to save money, which is what my mom was telling me about. But just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated high school, last year of high school. This was when really things kind of really started kicking off, because that was the year during the COVID pandemic. And that was also the year of the 2020 election. So I organized a lot of rallies in our area in support of President Trump, in support of law enforcement, and in support of our incredible first responders. And that was during the time of the BLM and Antifa riots that were happening, and they were happening even in our area. I mean, there were not riots, but there were protests. There were BLM protests on the college campuses, and I was seeing some pictures and some videos of some stuff, at Bucknell University, and I thought to myself, I'm like, the silent majority should not be silent anymore. Like, we have a First Amendment voice too. It's about time we start using it. So I organized 4 rallies over the course of the 2020 election, and then after that, I went to a Turning Point USA conference.
No way.
And that's where I met Madison Cawthorn, and that was incredible. And I'll never forget the conversation that we had. He touched on it briefly about, he was like, you seem really passionate about conservative politics. You seem really passionate about everything. Like, feel free to stay in touch with me. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on social media. Maybe I'll see you, down the road. So that kind of is what kind of triggered everything. And then got accepted into Liberty University, was at Liberty for about 4 months, was an ambassador for the Standing for Freedom Center, which is a conservative organization. They bring a lot of speakers to campus. They have a huge social media following. They're very big on kind of talking about the founding principles of the country, faith, family, freedom.
That's awesome.
What we need to do to preserve those for the next generation.
Yep.
So I was, very involved with that group. I also wrote a couple of articles through the Liberty Bell, which was a conservative outlet on college campus, on kind of why conservatives need to get involved in politics, all that type of stuff. And because I had organized all those rallies, and I also did some work for the Trump campaign in 2020, some grassroots work. And then I also did a lot of just grassroots work, and I helped out Fred Keller's campaign. He was the former congressman in our area.
I've met Fred Keller before.
Great guy. Was able to help him for a special election, and I was able to also help State Representative now, David Rowe, during his special election.
Rowe.
Do some
He's
campaigning.
A legend.
Great guy. Just all around, just great guy.
So when you say, sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
So when you say that you're helping them out, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so that looks like, obviously, helping out at events, helping out at rallies, helping out at events, going around door knocking, phone banking, helping register voters, helping build coalitions of people that they need in order to help, them win, going to different locations and meeting people and introducing myself and kind of getting their message out there,
That's cool.
so that they can, be successful in their elections and stuff. And because of all that experience, and I also interned for Sean Parnell, who's now the spokesperson at the Department of Defense under Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
That's awesome.
So I interned for Sean Parnell when he ran for U.S. Senate in 2021.
That's awesome.
And that was a great experience because I was able to go to a bunch of events with Sean. I was able to build a lot of relationships with people through the different events that we went to. And I was also able to do a lot of tabling and a lot of just grassroots work, which was able to really help build a solid foundation for me as far as campaign work goes. And because of all of that experience, I applied for this Washington Fellowship program thinking, they normally only take seniors and juniors. I was like, I'm a freshman. I obviously had college credits that transferred in, which made me a sophomore. Yeah. But I was like, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm going to apply. I know that I felt like God was calling me to DC. I'm going to apply and I'm going to see what happens. And I got accepted into the program. And about a month into the program, was all centered around getting young conservatives or just young people in general on Liberty's campus to go and get jobs or intern on Capitol Hill.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a program that Liberty uses to help students kind of get to Capitol Hill.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it was great. So through that, they selected me, which was an incredible honor.
Wow.
And I think I'm one of the youngest to ever be selected into the Washington Fellowship Program. And through that experience, I got an internship opportunity from Congressman Madison Cawthorn at the time from North Carolina. And
you're doing a great job at transitioning to where we need to go next.
Really?
So just keep going.
Sounds good. Yeah. So 18 years old. I mean, I was like, wow,
that's crazy.
18 years old on Capitol Hill. Don't know many people. Pretty new. Didn't really have a solid community. And they were like, we want you to be the communications intern. So I accepted the role after praying about it. And I was, communications intern for, a few months. And then the congressman was like, hey, I want to offer you a full-time position. He's like, pray about it, talk it over with your family. And then, let us know what you decide. So, yeah, I accepted the position, and I gained so much experience from the congressman and from his team. His communications director at the time was Luke Ball, and also he had another person on his communications team, Ron Kovac. He was also incredible and very influential. So that because of the experience that they gave me, because a lot of people that are our age, when they get to the Hill and they do internships, it's like they give tours, they, help out the front office. They're not really doing like graphic design or helping with videos or helping like write newsletters or floor speeches or anything like that. So the fact that they gave me that hands-on experience and the ability to make it, it was an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
It's really what propelled me. And I firmly believe it's all God driven.
Yeah.
Because I was also in an office surrounded by a lot of believers.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I was just about to say, like, that can't be any more obvious that was just like God's calling on your life in that moment.
Yep.
Like even me and Bray hit on this in our first podcast, but we were kind of talking about what led us to continue to grow our business was just God just kept opening doors for us. And I was going like, it was smacking me in the face, and I was going, there's no way that this wasn't the Lord showing us that he wanted to continue blessing our business at the time. But it's totally the same for you. Like God just totally opened that door for you into doing this thing that you're totally called to do.
And it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
Like it was literally a dream come true. Like I remember Congressman Madison Cawthorn giving a speech at the Republican National Convention, which was in DC that year because of the COVID pandemic.
Yep.
And that's like when he became this, future star of the Republican Party.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, like that's somebody that like I really like he stands for all the right things. Like he's a strong conservative. He doesn't back down to the woke mob. Like that's somebody that like I want to get behind, and like it would be just an honor to work for him, maybe down the road.
Yeah.
And then not thinking a year later that I would be not only a communications intern, but also on his staff working for him was just an opportunity of a lifetime. It's something that I'll never forget. The experiences that I learned there were so valuable, and
awesome.
I was able to use, and I still am able to use so much of what I learned to, help not only grow God's kingdom, but help the conservative movement, and also just, get more people to our cause.
Yeah.
Of fighting for freedom.
Yeah. It's so good. So where do you kind of go from there in your story?
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. I mean, I'll be honest with you, obviously some stuff happened. And I was kind of like, wow, like, I wonder what God has in store next. Like after things kind of didn't work out. And then that's when I was like, wow, I really like, Caroline Levitt. And so one of her, staffers reached out to me, and he was like, we would love to like bring you onto the team. Like, we think you would be a great fit. You're pro-Trump. You're very conservative. Like, we would love to have you. So I was like, wow, like I'm going to, go up to New Hampshire and campaign, and be a part of a campaign. Like, didn't see this coming.
Wow.
And she ran against like 8 primary opponents and she was outspent by millions of dollars.
Wow.
And because of the strong ground game that she had, and a lot of her ground game was made up of young people that lived in New Hampshire,
Wow.
that were just out there knocking doors, pounding the pavement, all that type of stuff. And we had a phenomenal team. And because of just everything just really came together, and because of just, I think, the hard work, the grit, the determination to see it through, we, against all odds, like, she won the primary by like 10 points.
Wow.
Against 8 other candidates after being outspent by like millions of dollars.
Wow.
And she was only 24 at the time. She had just turned 25. So she was one of the youngest candidates to ever run for Congress, along with, you know, some of the other congressmen, like Congressman Cawthorn at the time.
What kind of role did you play in for helping her?
Yeah, so I was one of the field directors. So I knocked on 15,000 doors
Holy cow.
in 3 months. So they would assign me some walkbooks, and I would go out and, you know, knock thousands of doors. And I met so many people in New Hampshire. Some of them I still keep in touch with.
That's so cool.
Actually. And yeah, I also I would help like set up for rallies, help set up for events. I would also like do photography as well. So I'd be taking pictures at her events and sending those over to her, and just anything I could. I also, this is actually a really cool side note. It was a couple of nights before the general election, which obviously the red wave that year didn't really turn out the way we had thought.
Yeah.
But a couple of nights before the election in 2022, I actually organized a rally myself for Caroline at one of our friends' places, and we had a great turnout, and I put it all together, and it was phenomenal. And it really helped kind of garnish her more support in that area that we really needed to get the vote out of. And it helped her. Obviously, she didn't pull it off, but she did really well. New Hampshire's a really rough state politically. It's more of like a purple state. They have a lot of libertarians. It's not an overly Republican state, although they do have a Republican governor and a Republican state house. But like on the federal level, they tend to elect like Democrats, like really moderate Democrats, just like every cycle. And a lot of them serve for like forever.
Yeah.
Like some of them will be in, like, I know there's a senator in there right now. Her name's like Senator Jean Shaheen. I think she's been in, don't quote me on this, but I think she's been in for like over 10 years. Like over 10 years. I think it's like way over that.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But people keep voting for her because, you know, they see her out in the public, they see her in the community, so that's kind of like why she's so popular.
Yeah.
So it's tough, even if you have a good candidate, to be able to.
Yeah, in some of those regions.
Yeah.
We need to get young Christian conservative men in politics more.
For sure.
And taking on these positions, and that's when we'll start to see real change, because it'll be less about making money, being a congressman, and more about how can we change the lives of Americans and help all the problems that you said: mortgage, rent, utilities, groceries. People can't afford to live.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. And I think we've grown so out of touch, because a lot of our generation also think that, like, when they talk about politics or when they think about politicians, they view people that are like 60, 75 years old, that have a law degree, that have been in politics their whole life, or that did lobbying beforehand.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that's not what our founding fathers intended for our system of government. Like, James Monroe was 18 years old. Alexander Hamilton was 21 years old as a founding father.
Crazy.
Yep.
And James Madison was 25 as a founding father.
Yep.
During 1776. So it's like, we have grown so inept to just thinking that politicians should be 70, 80 years old. Look how young our founding fathers were when they were fighting for freedom and when they were crafting our founding documents.
Absolutely.
And that same energy that they had for our nation in 1776 is, I think, the same energy that we need, that our generation needs to see. And we need more people in the fight in this movement in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. You got anything you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, it's really sad to see that it's become so polarizing just with media outlets and social media, because you can look at whenever you dehumanize the other side and you demonize the other side, that conversation never truly happens. And I feel like the answer normally lies in the middle of people's ideologies and people's ideas.
Yeah, at the root.
But whenever you're labeling one side as racist, bigots, xenophobic, whatever,
Fascist.
it's so easy because then you're like, well, you can't rationalize your points with racists. And that's always their talking points.
Yes.
Oh, that person's a racist? You can't have a conversation with a racist.
Yeah.
How can you reason with someone like that?
Yep.
But it's like, at the end of the day, we're humans. You know, we have ideas. We were all brought up in different ways. But man, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I feel like the answers normally lie in the middle. But if we're not willing to sit down and actually have conversations about political topics, and if things just keep getting more polarizing, all you're going to see is like your point is we're going to start to see more violence.
I was just talking to mom. Sorry, one second. I was just talking to mom about this. Some stupid thing just came out and said that. I think it was. I'm not going to say exact names because I just want to keep it safe. But anyways, there was people claiming that mom was pro bestiality because she didn't support this one bill or whatever. Anyways, it's a clown show.
Right.
All of it's just a clown show.
Yep.
But this is what I was going to say. If we can all come back to a Christ-like mindset, that's really what it is.
Yep.
And it's like, even if this is kind of like what you were saying, I wanted to piggyback off of it. I'm not even going to reason with a fascist or a racist.
Right.
So your plan is to just cast them off into the dust and never have a conversation and never try to convert that person because they're just so far gone that there's no cause. That's not what Christ calls us to do.
Right.
And it's so funny that the Democrat Party, they use Bible verses in Christianity as a pedestal to make themselves seem better than everyone when they actually don't hold to any Christian values. Anyways, that was totally separate from what I was going to say. But we live in a world where everyone expects everyone else to be perfect, but they're not perfect themselves. And whenever you have the perspective that everyone needs to be perfect, no one will ever come and have a conversation because people are scared that people are scared of what people think about them. And there's just this high expectation on people to be perfect, even in politics. But that's why I brought the mom thing up, is like, there's going to be times where you make mistakes and there's going to be times where you fall short, but it's not about that. If we really want to bring this country back and unite this country, we need to realize that every single person is capable of making mistakes. And the reality is that we were born into sin and we all need to turn back to Christ. But when we realize that everyone's on the same playing field, that's when you start reaching out to people that you think is so far gone and you're going, you know what, let's just have a conversation about this instead of being like, ew, gross, I'm never going to talk to that person. We're so far gone from that. And I think we need to get back to realizing that people aren't as bad as they actually, as social media makes it seem. It's just, they differ with you on some things, but they polarize it to make it seem like
that's
it's a
why
bigger
it's
deal.
so sad, in my opinion, just to see, like, you know, such a character like Charlie Kirk to be gone, is because, man, you truly watch those long form videos on YouTube and you'll see that they actually do end up finding common ground. Like whenever I would watch Change My Mind with Steven Crowder, like, the whole essence of their conversation is, by the end of it, you do end up finding common ground, because these are, at the end of the day, they're still people. Like,
yes, they're
still
humans.
people that have ideologies that still, in their own version and opinion, are trying to do things that are going to push the country forward. But yeah, at the end of the day, like we just need to be finding more common ground with people that, you know, don't listen to the social media outlets that are telling you that, you know, we're racist. Like look at us right now. We're having a conversation. We're people. Like,
it's dehumanizing.
We just need to dehumanize and bring down
we need to get rid of the dehumanizing.
No, I know. I'm saying the gaslighting, putting gas to the fire. It's just, I don't know if that makes sense.
Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, and I think we need to be willing to, you know, obviously there might be times where we need to agree to disagree.
Right.
But I also think that when we are having dialogue, when we are having conversations, that we don't compromise.
Right.
And that we, you know, speak the truth in love.
Right.
And, you know, we're obviously called to be the salt and light, but that we don't shy away from tough conversations or tough issues.
Right.
Because we don't want to offend people.
Right.
We don't want to make people uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, some of Scripture can be uncomfortable, but that's why that's what God intended it to be. So I think keeping that mindset when we're having those conversations, because so many conservatives and so many Republicans are like, I either don't want to talk about politics all the time, or I don't really want to, you know, create too much conflict because I don't want to lose a friend or I don't want to lose anything. It's like, you should care about standing on truth, but do it in a loving way.
Right.
That doesn't turn people away.
And whenever I'm saying like finding common ground, I wasn't saying like to give them an inch. I'm saying in regards of like, at the end of the day, whenever you're looking at, let's just say like an issue like abortion or pro-life, like you can look at that and be like, one side saying that they want to kill innocent lives, and then the other is saying that they want to, uphold what the Bible says and that we're supposed to protect life that can't protect itself. I'm saying the common ground at the end of the day is I feel like the majority of people, unless you're just looking at social media, is I think people are way more reasonable than what they're made out to be. And you can look at those polarizing things that you see on social media, like CNN or whatever these left headlines are saying. But man, at the end of the day, like you sit down, you talk to these people, and they don't agree with like 9-month abortions. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they don't think we should have 10 million illegal aliens on our healthcare system.
Right. Most people are more reasonable than what the social media.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is like even just on a lot of issues that we have. Obviously, there's some things that it's like you don't give 1 inch.
Correct.
But what you're trying to say is the people who are pro-abortion, their whole argument is that I just don't want the government to infringe on my right to make a decision with my body. And what's sad is at the root of that is it is murder. Right. You are murdering a baby. Yep. But what you're saying is the media paints it out to be such a polarizing opposite thing, which it is. Right. It's just maybe some people's heart intention is, I just don't want the government to be able to tell me what I can and can't do without their body. But it's because they don't realize what you were saying. You tell someone the truth. One of my really good friends said this, Cole, who we just did a podcast with. But he goes, you don't tell someone the truth in spite of your love for them. You tell someone the truth because of your love for them. Yep. So the truth isn't always going to make you feel good, but it's necessary. Yep. Mm-hmm. So
and it's necessary if we're going to save this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of the times people don't want to engage on tough issues because it doesn't look good for them politically.
Right.
Or it doesn't fit their agenda. And I think as Christians, we need to be willing to put ourselves aside. And when we obviously surrender ourselves to the Lord, we need to realize that surrendering means giving everything up and turning not just turning everything over to Him, but fully giving Him, our whole life, which means also speaking truth through that.
So true.
Through that aspect. And I think so many people, oh, I'm a Christian, or, oh, I'm a conservative, but I don't want to talk about abortion. I don't want to talk about transgenderism. I don't want to talk about homosexuality or gay marriage or any of these things because I don't want to lose a friend. And it's like, I think it's more important that we share the gospel in its entirety.
So true.
And we give people the full picture than give them half-truths. Like, we live in a half-truth society. Mm-hmm. And like we live in a society that doesn't acknowledge objective truth.
Yep, that's
so true.
Or biblical truth.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we live in a society that like whatever the world says is deemed as truth is true.
Yeah.
When in reality, most of the times it's not.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to get back as a country, we have to get back to being in God's word.
Yep.
We have to get back to our generation has to get back to going to church.
Yep.
Amen.
And getting into Bible studies and men's groups and just having that strong discipleship and that strong brotherhood.
Yep.
I think is just so critical if we're going to see our country saved in the long run, because all these political issues are just temporary.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's eternal is Christ.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was, you said exactly what I was trying to get out of my mind very, very well. But that's what I was saying in the beginning. Like, first we need to have a Christ-like mentality, and we need to love Christ, and we need to give our whole life to God. And then how that follows is you do what Charlie Kirk did. So you have the love of Christ in you, and you can start to approach people that disagree with you like crazily on crazy things, like abortion. Like, if you support the killing of babies in the womb, I mean, that is a core thing that I believe in, that it's just, we got to stand true on that. But when you have the love of Christ in you, that's actually what allows you to have those conversations without hatred. And that's exactly what you were saying. We need to get back to a place where we're giving our lives to Jesus. And what that actually ushers in is dialogue that is not rooted in hate.
Yeah. Because, I mean, any Republican influencer or any Republican podcaster or politician can go up and just give generic political talking points about
of course,
the border, about crime, education, energy. It's an entirely different thing when you bring Christ into it.
Absolutely.
And keep that at the forefront. And that is what changes hearts and minds.
Yep. Yeah. So true. I mean, you could see back when, I think it was in, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was whenever they took the Bible reading out of schools in the 60s. You could just see the rise in
crime,
Yeah.
violence, just all those things. And it's definitely not a coincidence that the second that you take the Bible out of schools and people or kids, whenever they're developing, man, it's so crucial for them to be instilled with morals and true values and what it looks like to actually, you know, represent Christ. And I mean,
yeah, and it doesn't mean we're theocratic. Is that the right word? But it doesn't mean that we it's that you have to believe in Christianity. It's just that whenever you truly understand, and please hit on this, Darren, because I'm sure you're more educated than I am, but our nation was founded on Christian and godly principles, and we need to get back to that. And it doesn't mean that you can't practice your own religion, because you know you have the freedom of religion to do what you want to do in the greatest nation to ever exist, which is the United States of America. But we can't lose sight of what made our nation great. And so piggyback off that, because I know you know more than me. So
that's what we need to get back to. I mean, you walk around DC, you walk around the Capitol, you walk around the monuments, and you see all of these Christian, you know, phrases and scriptures plastered all over our government buildings.
So true.
National Monument, obviously, but Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, the United States Capitol. It is just so evident when you look around and you see what God's doing and what he's already done through architecture, through scripture, through all these different things, through people, that America was a Christian nation. And the majority of our founding fathers were Christian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we've become a nation where, you know, we have Muslims serving in our Congress that hate America and that, you know, hate what we stand for. And we have people in our country that hate everything America stands for. And they're not here for a better life. They're here to transform America into where they came from.
So true.
I mean, you look at the rise of Islam in places like New York City, in Dearborn, Michigan.
It's been crazy recently.
And Texas, where they're, you know, invoking Sharia law and where they're trying to take over areas in America. And it's like, if we do not, you know, stop the takeover of Muslims in the West, in America, we're not going to have a country to save.
Wow.
We're not going to have a country to save if we do not stop illegal immigration, and we do not deport all these people that broke our laws and came into our country illegally. Then we won't have a country for the next generation, because these people are taking up housing. They're taking up time at the DMVs, trying to apply for driver's licenses. Many of them have fake driver's licenses. And they're a strain on. They're taking up our healthcare system. They're a strain on so many of our resources, and the taxpayers are paying for it. Number one, and then number two, they're trying to create, you know, whatever country they came from. They're trying to create that here in America,
right? Yeah.
And
it's not compatible.
It's not compatible.
Yep.
You know, Islam is not compatible
No.
with Western culture
Yep.
and with Western civilization and with America. And it's not Islamophobic to say that, and it's not racist to say that.
No.
It's just the truth.
Yes.
These people actively chant death to America, death to Israel,
Yep.
death to Christians, death to the Jewish people. They want to completely take over.
Yeah.
I mean, you see what they're doing over in the United Kingdom, where
it's getting bad over there.
Yeah, you see what they're doing in France. With all these attacks, with all these different things, and obviously there's good Muslims. Obviously there's good Muslims, but this whole takeover of the West, like we're seeing what's happening over in Europe and Canada, we can't let that happen in America.
No,
because America was founded on Christian Judeo principles, and we have to do everything we can to stop it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so true. Yeah, everything we're talking about is so good. I don't want to quit talking about it, but I did want to hit on one thing that I had written down. I hope I pronounce his name right, but Brylan. This was one thing I had. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brylan, yeah.
That's something I wanted to hit on whenever we were kind of on this topic of everything. And I know it's a little bit different than what we were just having a conversation about, which was great. But tell us a little bit about how you got to know him and the story behind that. I was super interested in that whenever we were kind of talking about that before the podcast started. So go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So I met Brylan at Liberty University at a Standing for Freedom Center conference in the back room. I met him and his mom, and we just hit it off. We had a great conversation about,
Awesome.
politics, about what, life was like living under, Joe Biden's authoritarian regime and all these different things. And from there, we just stayed in touch. And I created my own podcast show a few years ago. I had a couple of guests on, stuff like that. And Brylan graciously accepted an invitation onto my podcast show. He never asked for anything in return. And we were talking about why Christians must get involved in politics and how they can do it. And we stayed in touch ever since, became pretty good friends. And he was kind of getting attacked online a few weeks ago. So I decided, obviously, you defend your friends not in private, but you also defend your friends in public.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need more of,
Yep.
right? Because there's so many people that don't want to defend their friends in public because they don't want their friends to think that they look weird or that it's not professional or whatever. But personally, I believe in not just defending your friends private, but defending your friends public.
Yep.
So and Brylan's a great friend, and he is doing God's work. Like, he has been on missions trips all across the world.
Awesome.
He has a heart for God. He's involved with Christian ministries in Alabama. So we kind of, stayed in touch ever since. And when I was seeing all this negative hatred, putting out, people putting out, influencers putting out mean posts towards him, I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, this guy has done so much for the Republican movement, for Gen Z. He started out very young like me, and he started out meeting Charlie Kirk and having him onto his show. So we both started out in politics at a very young age, and I was like, this is ridiculous. So I put a post out, and I didn't really expect it to get, much. I was like, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing.
Yep.
And it took off because, obviously there are a lot of people on, social media that don't really care about the truth. They just care about putting stuff out for clicks and sound bites.
Yep. So true.
And that's a really big problem. And that's really influencing our generation.
Yep.
And I see it even amongst my peers. People believing 20 or 30-second clips of something, and, whether it be Candace Owens or, Tucker Carlson. And obviously, some of them can make good points, right? But just the propaganda being pushed by some of these influencers as a whole,
Yep.
and also just their fight, their animosity that they have towards younger conservatives that are getting involved.
Right.
Like, I put the post out. It was very positive. I'm like, this young man has done great work for the conservative movement, right? Like, we need to continue to support him. Like, keep up the great work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like, that's what we need to do. Like, so many influencers, so many people that are in our generation are jealous of one another.
Yep. So
and
true.
like, what if we took a step back and realized that, like, we're all on the same team,
Yep.
and that our fight isn't against each other. It isn't against Republican versus Republican. Our fight is for the soul of America against the radical left ideologies, the woke ideologies that are trying to destroy America.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where our focus should be addressed towards, not trying to destroy or target other conservatives
Yep.
that are just trying to make a difference and they're just trying to help save our country.
Yep.
Yeah. We're
And
better
it's a team sport.
better and stronger together.
Yeah, we're stronger together, and we're not in a position where we can have time to be arguing over the small stuff.
Right.
When half the country thinks it's okay for men to play in women's sports.
Yeah.
Right.
When half the country thinks it's okay for men to be in women's bathrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
When they think that it's okay for, a young student to dress up as a furry.
Right.
Or, to call themselves a cat or a dog.
Right.
Like, we're not at a point in our country where we should be arguing, and we should never be, amongst ourselves as conservatives.
Right.
Like, united we stand, divided we fall. And it's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, if we stay united as a team, focused on the mission, there's nothing we can't achieve. But if we stay divided, and if we stay jealous of one another, or we stay, ego-driven, that's when we're going to lose our strength
Yep.
and our position.
Yeah, that's so true. And one big thing, even just to piggyback off that, Brylan and I wrote down I wanted to hit on this too, but I think Brylan also kind of transitions into this actually just happened recently. I'm pretty sure I saw on your social media, but the Washington Examiner. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about that. And I know that does have a little bit to do with Brylan, as well. So.
Yeah, it does, because Brylan and I both, when I put that post out, and then when Brylan also put his post out, we were getting heavily attacked online by the trolls on X and on Facebook and all these different accounts. And honestly, somebody reached out to me. They were like, "Hey, we would love to do an article on this." So one of my friends who works at the Washington Examiner, he was so gracious enough, to present us with the opportunity, and then to write an article on how, Brylan and I both have similar stories of how we got involved in politics and kind of our grassroots activism, and, that we're the future of the conservative movement. And I think it was a special moment because Brylan and I both focus on keeping Christ at the center. And that's something that a lot of people in politics in DC and even in conservative politics in general across the country don't have.
Yep.
They might have the knowledge, they might have the smarts on policy, but they aren't putting Christ at the center. And they aren't making him the main, keeping him the
rooted
main
in
focus.
faith.
Yeah.
Rooted in faith.
Rooted in faith.
Yeah.
And that's I think a super important thing. And that's why, I would encourage people to go out to the Washington Examiner and read that article, because that article also touched on the fact that, conservatives that are younger need to get involved, because the decisions that these leaders are making are directly impacting not only our lives, but also our children's lives, our grandchildren's lives, and future generations.
Yep.
So true.
And so politics matters because policy matters and people matter. Politics matters because I think that's Allie Bethley Stuckley. Like, she always says politics matter because people matter.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And
So true.
that's really true. And that's what we need to get back to. And I think that's why so many young people should care about politics and care about getting involved, not just in politics, but also to grow the kingdom of God, because that's the only way that we truly restore our republic.
Yep.
We can have all the nice jobs, we can have all the nice titles, we can have all the nice careers, all the nice, ideas, right? But if we're not focused on keeping us, if we're not focused on transforming our government into a more Christ-centered government, and we're not focused on we should be focused on creating a Christ-centered country, then we're gonna lose it all. We're gonna lose everything. So I think it's really important for us to continue to keep the big picture in mind.
So true.
As we look forward.
And isn't it so funny that they often try to get us to instill the separation of church and state?
Yeah.
When I feel like it's so funny because, like, so much of our moral code is founded in what we believe in.
Yeah. The Constitution. It says we have inalienable rights.
Yes.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
Those are all biblical ideals.
Yes. Where do you think those come from?
God-given rights.
Yeah, it's just so crazy how people can steer so far away from that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Wow. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
This has been really awesome. There was just a couple more things that I wanted to ask you before we wrap this up, because I think, what do we take, like a little over an hour? So we're good on time and everything. But I just really want to encourage, for that young person that's listening to this podcast right now, someone that's hearing your story at such a young age, being bold in what they believe in and being a Christ follower and keeping Christ at the center of politics, but someone that might want to make an impact in the political realm and standing up for Christ like you did boldly in the conservative movement. Like, what would you encourage a young listener that's watching right now, that might be going through something like you were saying, where you were in 7th grade and you were being ridiculed for being some crazy MAGA Republican in a very liberal school? Like, what would you tell the kid that's listening, that's going, I'm really moved by this whole Charlie Kirk thing. I feel something in my spirit changed. I feel like there's an attack on my free speech and ability to just preach the gospel of Jesus and to just uphold conservative traditional values. Like, what would you say? Sorry, I made that really long. But what would you say? What would you say to someone who wants to do what you did?
Yeah, so I would say to them that, like, if you want to get involved and make a difference for your country and for your home state and your local area, all politics is local. So I would encourage you, if you're listening to this show, to get involved with your local Republican committee, We need precinct committee men. We need precinct committee women. There's a lot of open positions in Pennsylvania and states across the country. Start your own podcast show. Write articles in your local newspaper. We need more conservative voices on the airwaves in our local newspapers, whether it be in Pennsylvania or across our country. And I would also suggest we need more people starting Turning Point USA chapters. I think they said that 100,000 requests have been submitted to start Turning Point USA chapters in America following Charlie Kirk's horrific assassination. So I would encourage you, if you feel called after listening to this, to go start a Turning Point USA chapter, because it is going to take an army to defeat the radical left. But with God's help and with people getting involved, we can make it happen, and we can do it. So I would encourage those couple of things. Get involved with your local committee, your Republican committee. Write articles in your local newspaper, or create your own podcast show. Get involved with the local candidate. If you see a local candidate that's a conservative, that is strong in what they believe, and you feel called that they're doing the right thing, reach out to their campaign team, get plugged in with them, see what you can do, see how you can get started. Even if it's door knocking or registering voters or phone banking or putting yard signs up. Those things are what win elections and make a difference, and that's how you can get your start in politics to make a big difference for our country. And everybody has to start somewhere, right? I started at the bottom, and through God and through hard work in Christ, I've continued to work my way up. And it's nothing crazy. Anybody can do it if you are passionate and if you're focused and driven and determined. You can do anything in this country. And what President Trump's showing us with his strong leadership is that the American dream and the American spirit is back. So I would use that as fuel. The next 4 years we have President Trump in office, which is a huge blessing from God. I would use that as a way. There's a lot of areas you can get involved in, like I just discussed. I would use that as energy and fuel to get involved to help make a difference for our republic.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I think the only thing I was going to say is, like, where can people find you? Just go ahead and just plug, I keep wanting to say Twitter, your X, Facebook, Instagram. Like, where can people find you and follow you for people that are watching?
Yeah, so people can follow me at X at Darren Dershem, DarrenDershem 45. That's my X handle if you want to follow me on X. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's going to be at Real Darren Dershem, spelled the same exact way. And then if you also want to join me on Facebook, you can follow me at Darren Dershem on Facebook as well. So
awesome.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to link?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be good.
You want to hit us with an outro, bro?
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have Darren here. And,
Absolutely.
tune into the next episode, and we appreciate everyone watching.
Alrighty.